Really lucky today. I've wandered up Brisbane Street and we've dropped into Uploads, and I've got my favourite broker, Kirsty Dunn.
Oh, that's so nice. We've taken you out to the pink part of the office as well that matches your tie, so it's great. We're happy to have you here.
Little bit going on just lately on the APRA situation. Just for those people that aren't quite sure, just give us a bit of a feel for how that works.
Well, the way I sort of look at it is Big Brother's stepping in to help protect us from ourselves at the moment. So the Government Regulatory Board is really worried at the moment that prices are increasing, lending is increasing, but wages are not increasing at the same rate. They're really worried that we might end up in a situation where people find home loan affordability too hard. So they're kind of trying to protect us from ourselves at the moment, and what they've said is, banks, we're going to make you do things our way instead of you guys having, say, a 2.5% interest rate buffer. So that's where, like, let's say your interest rate is 2.5%. You can't get the home loan unless the bank can show, and we can show as your broker, that you can afford the interest rate if it's 5%. So double that. Instead of that, we're going to add another 0.5% onto it. So what it's going to mean is that there's a lot of people out there who are going to find that as of next month, their borrowing capacity has dropped even though nothing in their situation has changed.
By how much? Just say someone's borrowing 400.
So that could be, depending on their circumstances, it might mean no difference whatsoever. They might be at 400 because their deposit level is limiting at that. So let's say a couple of first home buyers, both of them on decent incomes, let's say they've got, their savings up to about that 10% mark, they're sort of tapped out at that $400,000 mark. This change is not going to affect them at all. But I deal with lots of single buyers. I deal with single buyers who they're amazing. They stay at home, they save, $60,000, $70,000. They are ready for home ownership, but there's only one of them. One of them to pay the rates, one of them to pay the electricity, one of them to pay the mortgage. So for those buyers, if they were previously pre-approved for $400,000, that could mean a drop down to them being able to only buy at $370,000, maybe $360,000. So
That's a big change, isn't it?
It's a big drop, especially at the moment. How are we going with properties in those price ranges? Can you get us a couple more of them? It's crazy out there, So it's going to have a big impact for single borrowers. It's going to have a really big impact for investors with multiple properties. Because you imagine if you're an investor with a portfolio of 4 or 5 properties, if they're pretending every single loan that you've got is 3% higher than what it actually is, that can decimate an investor's borrowing capacity as well. So those are the two real segments that are going to be mostly impacted. It's those people who are great savers and who have shown every commitment to doing this, but were limited based on their income. They're going to find this hard, and then investors are also going to find this hard. A lot of them, so to speak.
It'll be interesting to see what it does to property prices, won't it? Because you wouldn't think in this market it will change a lot, but obviously it'll pull some buyers back.
Well, the last time APRA got involved, last time APRA stuffed things up, no, I'm joking. They're not trying to stuff anything up, but it is artificial sort of interference in a marketplace. But the last time APRA got really heavily involved was back about 5 or 6 years ago. Sydney was going off its nana. I think there was one quarter there where the property prices went up like 13% in a quarter. So APRA was like, oh, how do we slow down Sydney? Sydney's being dominated by investors. We'll make investment lending hard, but the changes that APRA put through, they were the changes that now mean that investment lending is higher interest rates than owner-occupied lending. We've still got them, and that's from 5 or 6 years ago. So these changes, they really could last for a long time. They could slow down the market. However, there's a lot of people out there who are not at the limit of their borrowing capacity, so it may not have the desired effect that they want. The fact that interest rates are so cheap at the moment, and that we have a whole bunch of expats coming home. I think one of the staggering things is that people are a bit surprised to know how many Australians have returned home in the last year during COVID. One of the reports that I read said that in any given year we have about 150,000 foreigners migrate into Australia. Obviously that's stopped with COVID. We've had 500,000 Australians return home. Every week, it's like travel for me. I'm like, oh, you're from Norway, you're from Scotland, you're from America, tell me all about it. But they're coming home in droves still at the moment, and a lot of them are coming to Tassie. We're not a secret anymore.
Because we're seeing quite a few from what sort of expats as in ex-Tasmanians from Melbourne and Sydney
COVID
coming,
refugees.
or just that age, my kids' age, sort of 35 to 40, who have decided they can do everything.
So many people can work remotely now. Yeah. I've got people who are coming home and they're like, we're going to keep our same jobs, our higher paying Sydney, Melbourne jobs, because we don't have to be in the office ever again if we don't want to.
Yeah.
So yes, it's an interesting time to be a buyer.
Yeah, it's a good whole bit.
Yeah, but the thing is, the APRA changes mean that if your borrowing capacity doesn't work with your lender, that's really where a broker can be very helpful. Most brokers like ourselves have access to over 30 lenders. I ran borrowing capacity for one person last month and their borrowing capacity was 0 with their current lender, right up to 1.4 million with another lender. It's not the same lender to lender, so that's where it's actually really helpful that we've got options, thankfully.
Right, yeah. So just on a general roundup, how are we getting on with the banks? Are they still hard to deal with, or are they going well?
I just changed my template email, which used to say many banks are very slow at the moment. Now it says some banks are very slow. So one of the cool things about being a broker, and we do a lot of home loans in here, as you know, it's that you get to find out the speeds of the banks. And it's not consistent. So one of the biggest banks in the country was like a train wreck at the end of last year, 6-7 weeks to pick up a deal. Now they're 3 days. So a lot of it's about figuring out which lenders are fast right now, and then also who can do what you need them to do. But I'm telling as many buyers as I possibly can at the moment, be pre-approved. It's one of the first questions most of the agents will ask you, and you want to have a pre-approval that you can rely on. So a pre-approval where the bank's actually looked at your information, asked whatever silly questions they want to ask, but have them ask it up front, not when they've got a contract on your property and we're getting the questions coming through after that. So pre-approval is essential, I think, in the marketplace right now.
From our point of view, it's very essential, and particularly if they will tell me that they come from loans, is great, or there are certain banks who I know the bank managers, and at least I can find out what's going on.
That's it.
Because I'm working for the vendor, and it's just unfair for a vendor to take a property off the market for 30 days
Exactly.
to find out that, hello, they can't afford it.
Yeah, and so many people will do an online calculator and go, oh, no, what my borrowing capacity is. Oh gosh, I wish it was that easy. I wish that was my job, just filling in a calculator. But everyone is complex in their own way. So maybe you've only been in casual employment for 5 months, maybe your pay's just changed. Like, there's so many different things. And as you know, some properties are complex as well. So being pre-approved is the best thing you can do to be 90% of the way there ready to go. And depending on the lender that people are pre-approved with at the moment, rather than them needing 21 days or 28 days for finance, we drop that right back if they're with a fast lender at the moment. Because often all we need is a valuation. And most of the valuations are coming in pretty well at the moment, as long as there's enough sales happening in the area. So in a metro area where there's, a good number of sales for the valuer to jump onto, we're pretty right at the moment.
Yeah. And are you seeing still a lot of first home buyers?
So many. And I don't know if it's the sort of the education stance that we take with clients. When I see a first home buyer, I don't just want to go, here's your borrowing capacity, go find a property. I want to be like, here's how this whole process works. Here's what we can do to help you get ready. It's a real education process. And so I think that because I'm almost like a first home buyer coach when I work with them, because it's bloody daunting. You remember back to the first time you did it, you don't have any idea what you're doing. You're scared of making the wrong decisions. And so there's so many first home buyers out there. Anywhere, at the company here, we've got 3 brokers. We have usually anywhere up to about 100 clients pre-approved at a time. Of my pre-approved clients, more than half of them are first home buyers at the moment. And some of them are very sad first home buyers because it is a bit of a trial and error at the moment. A lot of them have to make offers a number of times before they get it. And sometimes with the client as well, we'll get them pre-approved and maybe they've saved up $50,000 and we get them pre-approved for a $500,000 purchase. My advice to them while they're looking is you keep saving, save, because when we go back to reassess that in 3 or 6 months, we might be able to get you pre-approved for $530 or $550. And as long as that feels comfortable to you and fits within the range, then suddenly you've got access to more properties.
Yeah, that's great.
I did have one client pre-approved for 4 years. That was a long time. She got something just before Christmas and I was like, oh, thank goodness. But every time we got her pre-approved, she'd done the right thing. She'd saved more. Yeah.
And get rid of any silly debts and all the things.
Don't get the silly debt in the first place. So banks don't understand a lot of the new technology, things like Afterpay, a lot of the interest-free debts. They're hard to show borrowing capacity with them. They're hard to get statements for. My big thing when it comes to that sort of debt is if it seems like it's too good to be true, it probably is. The easiest debt for you to get is the worst for you. So, if you can go out and get a credit card with a really high limit at the moment, that's not helping you. Home loans are hard to get, but you show me something else that consistently goes up in value as much as a home over time. So that's the debt we want to get them into. But yeah, all the other little stuff. Usually I say, look, let's close off Afterpay. If you've got Zip Pay or Zip Money, let's get them closed. Let's look at credit card limits and anything we don't need to have for an application. I want them to look as strong as possible.
Yeah. Well done, Kirsty. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure.